Kilmartin Glen on the west coast of Scotland is one of the most significant prehistoric, Neolithic and Bronze Age areas in Britain. It also has one of the most concentrated areas of ancient rock art in Western Europe. This documentary by Before Caledonia looks at the prehistoric linear cemetery cairns, standing stones, a stone circle, a henge and the amazing rock art, all located in the Kilmartin area of Argyll and Bute. Please leave a comment below on your favourite site. The Glebe Cairn. The prehistoric people erected 5 cairns which were arranged in a linear fashion along the Kilmartin Glen valley floor. The earliest cairn is from 3000 BC, and these sites have endured from deep antiquity and are testament to the engineering skills of Kilmartin's ancient inhabitants. The linear cemetery cairns are in the care of Historic Environment Scotland. It's possible to walk south from the Kilmartin Museum to Glebe Cairn, Nether Largie North, Nether Largie Mid, Nether Largie South, Temple Wood, Nether Largie Standing Stones and Cruin. Glebe Cairn is the northernmost cairn and adjacent to the Kilmartin Museum. The cairn is a substantial mound of stones and makes this a typical Bronze Age burial cairn. The site is thought to date between 3,700 and 3,500 years old. In the present day, Glebe Cairn survives as a substantial circular mound of loose stones, 30 metres wide by 3 metres tall. In its present state, the site has no noticeable features and appears not the most interesting cairn in the linear cemetery, but excavation revealed a very interesting past. In 1864, Glebe Cairn was excavated by Canon Greenwell. Under the central area was 2 stone kists, which are rectangular stone boxes used for burial. The kists contained food vessel pottery and a jet bead necklace. The jewellery was destroyed in a fire at Poltalloch House. The food vessel finds are made from ceramic. They are on display in the Kilmartin Museum. A fragment of a second vessel was found. Both of these objects resemble Irish pots from the Bronze Age and they may have been imported. Excavation results found ritual use over a long period. In the middle of the cairn was 2 concentric circles of boulders, roughly 11.5 metres and 8 metres in diameter. Each ring had megaliths nearly 1 metre in height in the northeast arc, and these stones were placed together in both circles, and this could be the site's oldest construction. Nether Largie North Cairn. Nether Largie North Cairn is the most interesting site to visit on the north-south orientated linear cemetery, which dates from 2000 BC. Here in the Kilmartin Valley we have a burial cairn that is mostly a 1970s reconstruction. From Nether Largie North, Glebe Cairn and Nether Largie Mid are both visible. Originally the cairn was 21 metres wide by 3 metres high. In 1930 the cairn was excavated by J.H. Craw and he came across the 1.6 metre by 0.6 metre north-south orientated kist. This was uncovered by a large capstone. When this was removed, 1 human molar was found. There was a second burial 3.5 metres from the central kist, where another molar was found, this time from an ox. A modern viewing chamber has been added so the public can see the remarkable central kist, along with its heavily cut-marked capstone. Unfortunately, on my visit, the viewing chamber was closed to the public as it was awaiting maintenance. The central kist is accessed through a modern hatch on top of the cairn. The 2 metre by 1 metre capstone is extremely significant. Over 40 cup marks have been intricately carved on the top surface, along with around 10 axe head motifs. The north end slab of the kist revealed a further 2 axe head carvings, and these glyphs are better seen at Cruin, which is situated at the south of the linear cemetery trail. The capstone, which may have come from a decorated rock outcrop like Achnabreck, or could have been a standing stone like the one at Ballymeanoch before it was reused in the later Bronze Age cairn. Notice how the shape of the cairn resembles the profile of the hill in the background. The axe head glyphs are thought to represent a person of status, power and wealth. They are common in this cemetery but not elsewhere. The cup marks are circular in shape like the cairn and the sun and the moon. Kilmartin is world renowned for its rock art and the best location in Scotland to view these ancient petroglyphs. The Nether Largie Mid-Cairn. Nether Largie Mid-Cairn is at the heart of the linear cemetery. Most of the cairns were depleted by stone removal for roads, dykes and field drains. Most of the Nether Largie Mid-Cairn material was lost to this. Presently the cairn is 1 metre high. Originally it would have been 3 metres. A cairn once existed between Nether Largie Mid and Nether Largie South, which was completely destroyed in the 1880s. From Nether Largie Mid Cairn is the best viewing location of the 1.5 mile long linear cemetery, which was in use from 3000 BC to 1500 BC. The cairn has a diameter of 33 metres, with the outer curbstones most noticeable in the south arc. The kist in the southern arc is interesting as it has a faint axe head carving and a single cup mark on one of the end slabs. It is thought these axe carvings represent a person of wealth who possibly was instrumental in the movement of metal from Ireland through Kilmartin up to the northeast of Scotland's bronze work centres. The south kist capstone is now supported by modern steel bars to allow viewing into the interior. A kist in the north arc existed but was removed and is now marked by short concrete posts. In 1929 an excavation took place by archaeologist James Hewitt Craw. He found 2 empty kists below the Bronze Age cairn. The acidic soil had dissolved the bodies and each kist had been designed to bury an elite individual 4,000 years ago. Inside the cairn body, a stone with 5 cup marks was found. In the 1990s, an avenue of huge wooden posts were discovered, which dated to 3700 BC. A timber circle was also found, which was Bronze Age. Both these discoveries were found at the gravel terrace at Upper Largie, which overlooked the Glebe Cairn. Unfortunately, this site has been quarried away. Within a 6 mile radius is more than 800 archaeological sites. Kilmartin Museum's survey work has helped identify these features. Our Neolithic and Bronze Age ancestors were busy creating rock art, standing stones, stone circles and cairns in this landscape which they held dear. When the Neolithic and Bronze Age finished, the climate became cool and wet. The Kilmartin Valley and its prehistoric remains were blanketed with peat until the 1800s, like the stone circles at Caledonia on the Isle of Lewis and Machrie Moor on the Isle of Arran. Vast quantities of peat had been stripped away for farming and fuel. This is when the cairns came to light. Notice from this view the Nether Largie North Cairn and Glebe Cairn in the distance. The Nether Largie South Cairn. The South Cairn at Nether Largie is the oldest construction in the Kilmartin Cemetery. Before Nether Largie South was constructed, there was huge wooden posts erected at Upper Largie, which was a long ceremonial avenue. The cairn design is similar to sites in North East Ireland and South West Scotland. Nether Largie South may have originally been similar to the fabulous Cairn Holy One site in Dumfries and Galloway, where ritual and funerary rites may have taken place in the forecourt. Nether Largie South was erected by the Neolithic people around 3600 to 3500 BC. This date makes the cairn roughly 500 years older than the Templewood Circle, which is just visible 250 metres away, and Kilmartin's vast rock art collection. The other cairns in the linear cemetery are Bronze Age and 1,000 years younger. In 2300 BC, the site was reused for burial. It was during this reuse when the trapezoid shape got converted into a 30 metre wide round cairn to conform with the other cairns. 2 further kists were added to the north and south arcs, which had important people inside. In 1864, the cairn was excavated by Canon William Greenwell over 3 days. The kists in the north and south arc were discovered during this excavation, with the latter still visible. Greenwell found artefacts from the cairn's origins and later reuse. Some of the finds are in the Kilmartin Museum. Inside the rectangular central chamber is 4 compartments where the finds were unearthed. The chamber is 6 metres long by 1 metre and 2 metres wide. In the first chamber was flint, ox and human bones. Chamber 2 had pottery along with ox and human bones. The third compartment had cremated human bone and 3 beaker pots, the best preserved being similar to pots found around the Rhine in Germany. The last compartment had quartz pebbles which were broken, arrowheads and knives made of flint, a cow tooth and burnt human bones. The outer kist on the south arc would have been the resting place of an important person. A kist on the north arc held a little globular pot, and these kists were erected during the Bronze Age reuse. Kists are a stone rectangular box made of slabs set in edge and covered by capstones or slabs. Kists are usually sunk into the ground or placed on the surface. The Templewood South Circle. A short walk from the Neolithic Nether Largie South Cairn is the 2 Templewood circles. Templewood South is probably the best known site in the prehistoric complex at Kilmartin Glen. The northern circle and the south circle are just a few metres apart. Templewood is also known as Half Moonwood. Both the cairns have a complex history. The south circle was added after the north circle. Our prehistoric ancestors revered this site for nearly 2 millennia. The site changed as rituals and beliefs changed through antiquity. 5,000 years ago, the original stone circle of 22 standing stones was erected. In the present day, 13 survive, with the highest being 1.6 metres. Our Neolithic and Bronze Age ancestors would likely congregate in these sacred spaces to witness key solar and lunar events, and probably more which is long forgotten. Around 4,000 years ago, 2 cairns were placed outside the circle. The interior may have been sacred space. The cairns were kerbed with a flat top and a stone kist. The kist on the southwest arc held a child's body. Another kist in the northeast section held the remains of an adult. 3,700 years ago, slabs were added to fill spaces between the standing stones, and an outer bank was added. Carved into the northernmost stone is a faint concentric circle and double spiral. The double spiral is reminiscent of a rock carving at the nearby Achnabreck and resembles a geospiral design. When the lower spiral was hidden by cairn material from the outer bank, a new spiral was created further up the standing stone. This design has similarities on Orkney and Ireland's passage tombs. Between 3,400 and 3,200 years ago, the cairn in the centre was built and another smaller cairn was constructed between the central cairn and Stone Circle. After this latest addition was added, both cairns were covered over with stones and another cremation was added. Peat began to blanket the area. Stones in the east arc were removed for various reasons. One stone was being shaped into a millstone and broke. This is still in its original position. During the 1800s, when agricultural improvements were taking place, field stones were dumped into the circle. It was at this stage that Templewood was reconstructed. In the 1970s, Jack Scott excavated. In one grave, no human remains were found. However, phosphate level analysis revealed the position of a decayed body. Artefacts which were found was a decorated beaker pot, 3 arrowheads made of flint and a scraper. Another grave revealed a tooth from a 4 to 6-year-old child. In the late 1700s, a hoard of medieval coins were found inside the circle. Kilmartin's historical interest grew in the 1800s, and local landowner John Malcolm supported the excavation of many sites which were excavated by his family minister, Reverend Reginald Mapleton. The Templewood North Circle. Templewood is one of the most visited sites in the Kilmartin Valley prehistoric arena and well known to historians in the UK and beyond. Templewood's 2 sites is the more elaborate South Circle and the North Circle, which is the original and oldest site. The North Circle had 2 phases of construction. Originally the site was constructed over 5,000 years ago with wooden posts which were replaced by standing stones. This second phase stone circle was never completed. It is unknown how many stones were erected, and at this point the North Circle was replaced by the South Circle. During excavations in the 1970s, the sockets of the timber structure were found. 4 of the biggest posts were in pairs in a north-south orientation. A charcoal deposit was found and analysed, which was dated to 3075 BC. Today the cairn is 10.5 metres by 10 metres. The timber sockets are now marked with circular concrete posts. The position of the standing stones are now marked with rectangular shaped posts. A stone in the centre is on a north-south axis, and with the arrangement of post holes on this same axis suggests solar rhythms were being observed. Perhaps the ancient people were using the site as an early sundial. The stone circle only lasted from 2900 BC to 2100 BC, and around 2000 BC the circle stones were removed and possibly reused at other sites nearby. Since then, Templewood North has been in its present form. During excavation at the South Circle is when the Templewood North site came to light in 1979. Peat spread over the valley floor, making the North Circle unnoticeable. This was also the case at the well-known prehistoric landscapes at Caledonia and Macrae. From inside the North Circle, our ancient ancestors would have observed the winter solstice sunset over the South Circle. This was one, if not the most important, solar event in the wheel of the year. The Nether Largie standing stones. Five beautiful megaliths make up the X-shaped Nether Largie standing stones. To the south is a pair of stones which resemble a gateway. As you walk north, you will come to a small box-shaped 4-stone setting. Just beyond this is a second 4-stone setting, which contains the central megalith. This standing stone is covered in ancient cup marks, which are carved circular depressions. 3 of these cups are enclosed by a ring. As you walk north beyond the central stone is a second set of beautiful megaliths. A small outlier stone can be seen 100 metres to the north. Another outlier once stood to the west 300 metres away, which is no longer visible. Nether Largie South Cairn is also visible from the stones. In a documentary about the work of Argyll astronomer Alexander Thom called Cracking the Stone Age Code, is footage of Professor Thom at the central megalith explaining that the top of the stone points to a notch in the hill where the moon sets at the northwest on its most northerly extreme position. The Nether Largie standing stones were quoted by Alexander Thom as the most important lunar observatory in Britain. Professor Thom also found alignments with the stones and the nearby Templewood circles. In recent years, analysis supports the theory that the stones were positioned to lunar rise and sets at important times in the 18.61 year cycle. These Nether Largie standing stones no doubt hold many secrets. The ancient people aligned these 3 metre high stones to the equinox sunsets, which fall on March the 20th and September the 23rd. This is the time of year when night and day are of equal length. There is also an alignment with the winter solstice sunrise. This also happens at the nearby Ballymeanoch standing stones. Winter solstice falls on December the 21st, which is the darkest day of the year. These solstice and equinox events were of utmost importance to our ancient ancestors. They were no doubt skilled in learning the natural movements of the sun and moon. The ancient people would have carefully chosen the Kilmartin Glen location for its landscape observation features. It is thought the standing stones were erected about 1200 BC, which would make them Bronze Age. The central stone cup marks are thought to be older by 1500 years, which may indicate the standing stone was originally part of a decorated outcrop like Kilbaan in its original incarnation. Cruin. Cruin is the southernmost cairn in the Kilmartin Valley. You can follow the north line of 5 cairns from Cruin to the Glebe Cairn, which is directly beside Kilmartin Museum. Cruin was originally constructed by the early Bronze Age people in 2000 BC. What we see now of the site is a modern day reconstruction. During the last 250 years, the cairn has been severely depleted by stone extraction. Cruin was originally 3 metres high and covered a central kist. Presently the cairn is 18 metres wide. A lime kiln was built into the west arc of the site. Like many cairns from prehistory, the site was brought to attention during its destruction. Around 1830, gravel was taken away from a bank and a burial kist came to light. The close by Templewood stone circle is 1000 years older. In 1870, Reverend Reginald Mapleton, an antiquarian, came across burnt bone in the central kist. At the far side of the cairn, a capstone on another kist had slid off. An unpleasant smell came from inside. The Reverend came across a small piece of bone which he said almost melted in my fingers. Further excavations took place in 1929 and 1936. Inside the south arc kist on a single slab is 6 axe head carvings which may represent a show of Bronze Age power and wealth and could be the resting place of a high status individual. These axe head carvings are also found at Nether Largie Mid and Nether Largie North cairns. These are rare but prominent in the Kilmartin Glen. They are similar to Irish axes, which were common between 4,200 and 3,950 years ago. The person buried here may have been instrumental in the trade of metal from Ireland to Bronze Age working centres in North East Scotland. The flow of metal may have been a resource of Kilmartin's vast wealth. Kilmartin also has many copper sources. In the same kist there was a remarkable decorated stone pillar. In 1870 this was removed and lost in a fire. A halberd appeared to have been carved on the stone, and this information came from a cast. A halberd is a skull-splitting weapon which was common between 2300 BC and 2100 BC. The pillar may have been Neolithic, then reused in the newer Bronze Age cairn. Another suggestion for the meaning of the carving is the keel and ribs of a skin boat. The Ballymeanoch Rock Art site. This prominent rock art panel is situated in an area saturated with tangible relics from deep antiquity. Our ancestors created a prehistoric legacy thousands of years ago, which even today we can walk in their footsteps and touch the stones they erected circa 5 millennia ago. Within a short walk of Ballymeanoch Rock Art is a chambered cairn, standing stones and a henge. Ballymeanoch is a very well preserved natural rock panel. Over 150 symbols were painstakingly carved. This outcrop is part of a dense concentration of prehistoric carvings in the Kilmartin area. The site is situated at the bottom of a valley. The majority of rock art is higher up on sloping ground. Inside the protective fence is 3 rock panels covered with cup and ring designs. 5 millennia after these designs were created, we can run our fingertips over these enigmatic symbols and imagine what they represent. One thing is sure, these designs must have been very important to the ancient people who created them. The petroglyphs were created around 3000 to 2500 BC. It is likely they used quartz stones as a tool to pick out the designs. They did not use metal tools. Ballymeanoch is decorated with simpler and smaller designs, unlike the nearby and elaborate Achnabreck. The dominant glyph here is the common cup mark. Some of these are in clusters. Some of the cups are enclosed by no more than 2 rings. Perhaps the outcrop was seen as special before it was chosen to be decorated. There may be a connection to a natural pool of water nearby. Today this pool is marked by wetland and tall grasses seen to the middle distance. This location offers views to the coast. Theories are 10 a penny, with little evidence regarding the meaning of the petroglyphs. A few suggestions are symbols of fertility rituals, a guide for travellers and an astronomical calculator to predict eclipses. Research has suggested the motifs helped the prehistoric people make sense of the world. The Ballymeanoch site has been important since the 1800s and been studied several times. Some of the nearby sites like Ballymeanoch standing stones have the same cup and ring designs. Perhaps these outcrops were relocated and reused for a new purpose in later sites. The Dunchraigaig Cairn. Dunchraigaig Cairn came to public attention in May 2021 when the earliest animal carvings in Scotland were discovered by Hamish Fenton. These were on the underside of a capstone inside the cairn. The carvings are thought to be around 3000 BC to 2000 BC, which makes them Neolithic to early Bronze Age. The carvings depict 2 male red deer. There are 3 other carvings which are thought to be juvenile deer. Deer would have been very important to local communities at the time for their meat. Hide bones and antlers would have been used for a variety of tools. This is a rare discovery and changes the assumption that prehistoric rock art in the UK was mainly the common cup and ring design and non-figurative. Dunchraigaig Cairn sets itself apart from the Kilmartin Cairn linear trail. The 30-metre wide cairn was constructed from cobblestones. In its present state, the site has been plundered for its material and has been much disturbed over its long history. Around 11 people were laid to rest in the cairn's 3 kists. These cairns were mostly for the resting place for multiple people. It is rare to come across a collection of remains in a single kist. During the Bronze Age, the kist was preserved for an individual. The earlier Neolithic tombs mostly held multiple burials. The cairn contains 3 stone kists. 2 are visible while a third is buried inside the cairn. The middle kist contained a crouched body below a layer of rough paving. Inside was cremated human bones, and above the stone lintel was a full-length body. The oldest kist on the south-east side was strangely dug into the ground. This was surrounded by a dry stone cobbled interior and capped with a 4-metre long stone. This held the remains of around 10 people in a mixture of cremated and non-cremated bone. This grave may have been Neolithic. Other finds were a knife made of flint, a whetstone to sharpen metal, an axe made of greenstone, and 2 finely decorated Irish-style pots. Dunchraigaig was excavated twice around 150 years ago by 2 churchmen. Cannon Greenwell excavated in 1864, and in 1870 Reverend Mapleton, who came across human remains, said the bones were of the consistency of butter or new cheese and seemed to almost melt between the thumb and finger. A lady forced her husband to return a bronze dagger or knife supposedly found in a nearby kist in the 19th century. She was afraid the person's ghost would return to haunt them. The site is now surrounded by trees planted by the Malcolm family in the 19th century. The Ballymeanoch Standing Stones. The beautiful Ballymeanoch Standing Stones are an important part of Kilmartin's prehistoric ceremonial landscape. This site is at the heart of the once and still sacred landscape. The name Ballymeanoch translates from Scots Gaelic as Middle Settlement. At Ballymeanoch we have 6 standing stones divided into a row of 2 and a row of 4, which are 40 metres apart. These rows are orientated towards key solar and lunar events, which is testament to the understanding of cosmic cycles held by the ancient people. It's possible these standing stones stood at the end of a processional avenue which approached from the southeast. The 4-stone row. The 4-stone row is aligned to the winter solstice sunrise. This very important solar event falls on December the 21st, which is the day of the year with least daylight. The face of the 2 middle stones are heavily cut-marked, and these megaliths may have come from a much earlier decorated outcrop, like the nearby Achnabreck Rock Art site, and transported here as beliefs changed over time. Notice how the 4 stones rise in height like the hill in the background. The highest megalith in the south is just over 4 metres high, with the smallest stone being 2.75 metres. The 2-stone row. This 2-stone row is in line to the midsummer most southerly full moonrise. The tallest stone is 3 metres high, while the other stone is 2.7 metres tall. The individual stones were set standing in a pit with the base packed in place by smaller stones. One of these pits held 3 portions of human bone, which was cremated. This was placed in the pit at the same time the megalith was erected. A hold stone once stood in the east in the late 19th century. In 1943, a storm caused this stone to fall. It now lies beside the nearby Kilmartin Cairn. The base was removed and excavated in 1977. Beneath the stone was 3 portions of human cremated bone, which were radiocarbon dated to between 3,370 and 3,050 years ago. The cremation lay in a pit that supported the stone. Local tradition had these hold stones as a way to seal deals or a promise to marriage. The Ballymeanoch Henge. Ballymeanoch Henge is a unique construction in the Prehistory arena at Kilmartin Glen. This is the only known henge in Argyll. The circular enclosure was constructed between 2300 BC to 2000 BC. This was nearly 1,000 years after the nearby invisible Ballymeanoch standing stones. These appear to have been deliberately positioned to be seen from the north entrance. This enigmatic earthwork is quite hard to make out in its present form. Visitors to the standing stones could easily overlook or miss this site. A circular ditch surrounds a bank which would have been much higher in prehistory, and this image tries to show what is left of the bank and ditch. Burials were placed inside the henge after multiple generations used the site for gatherings and ceremonial purposes, which are long forgotten. 2 graves were lined with stones known as kists, which are still visible. When excavations took place over 100 years ago, the smaller kist held remains of 3 burials and pot fragments. In 1864, William Greenwell excavated the henge. Inside the small kist he found fragments of a decorated pot and human teeth from 3 bodies. Greenwell found nothing inside the larger kist, which had been previously plundered. The floor had been laid carefully with round pebbles, and the side slabs were long and may have been taken from the nearby Templewood North Circle. Ballymeanoch Henge is an early Bronze Age or late Neolithic site. It was scheduled in 1933 and is a prime example of a Class II henge, and these henges can be found throughout the UK. Scotland holds 100 of these. A few other well-known examples are Cairn Papel near Bathgate and Balfarg in Glenrothes. The Scottish henges tend to be quite small. Achnabreck Rock Art Part 1. Achnabreck is the best location in the UK for ancient rock carvings. The landscape around Kilmartin is saturated with enigmatic petroglyphs of circles, dots and lines which were intricately carved by the prehistoric people onto exposed rock outcrops in the area we now call Argyll and Bute. There are over 330 rock art panels in the Kilmartin environs. A 30 metre by 60 metre fenced area contains 3 rock outcrops, panel A being the lower rock sheet, and panel B is the middle panel, which has a cup and ring design 1 metre wide, and panel C is the highest outcrop, where we have 3 rare carvings which do not fit into the traditional cup and ring designs, and these 3 rock panels contain the most extensive petroglyphs in Britain. Our ancestors from 3000 BC to 1500 BC created these symbols, which must have been very important. Panel A. Panel A has 83 symbols spread over its large rock sheet. A further 100 glyphs are on the upper 2 outcrops. The Achnabreck designs are quite straightforward, with many of the cup marks encased by 1 or multiple rings. Some cups have channels or gutters radiating from the centre. Various people worked and reworked the petroglyphs. Earlier hollows were later surrounded by rings, and some circles were pecked out to touch older glyphs. The long gutters go through earlier circles, with some linking 2 or more sets of the cup and rings together. At least one set of cup and rings appears to have been pecked over in an effort to it being erased. The motifs were likely carved at different times by various people. The fragile surfaces are full of fissures and cracks. Some of the glyphs run parallel to these natural lines, others are bisected. Panel B. Panel B is the middle outcrop and has a 1 metre long carving. A few theories for the rock art is sperm entering an egg, vessels to capture blood of sacrificial victims, or a type of game to play marbles. Along the Atlantic coast from Scotland to Portugal, similar designs can be found, which suggests a shared knowledge over distance. Argyll folklore in the 1800s thought cup and ring designs were hoof prints. Sir James Young Simpson, a doctor, made a modern study of Achnabreck in the 1860s, and he undertook a groundbreaking survey of rock art in Scotland. Achnabreck has no human or animal carvings. Panel C. Panel C is the highest rock surface and holds the prominent horn spiral motif. There is a similar glyph to this on the nearby Templewood stone circle. There are 2 other similar designs which have been found on Orkney's Westray Stone and Ireland's Newgrange in the Boyne Valley. Kilmartin is situated between these 2 great Neolithic hubs. The spirals are usually found in structures like passage tombs, stone circles or decorated artefacts. They may also be older than the common cup and ring designs. Observing the landscape from this elevated position around winter solstice, the sun travels low on its arc over Loch Gilp, which was likely very important to the prehistoric people and a key factor in the location for the carvings. Perhaps this outcrop was a sacred location to the ancients. A local woman found a previously unrecorded, elaborately carved outcrop near Achnabreck in 2008. A storm caused trees to fall and exposed the panel. Archaeologists and volunteers have found lots of rock art sites around the glen. Achnabreck Rock Art Part 2. A short 150 metre walk from the main Achnabreck enclosure is a second site known as Achnabreck 2. The site has beautiful southern scenery towards Loch Gilp. This fenced off area has 63 motifs on a domed rock surface with at least 15 multiple rings. One of these is a 5-ring symbol. The Neolithic people carved these abstract shapes onto exposed rock surfaces, and intentionally or unintentionally, these carvings have lasted circa 5 millennia. The ancient inhabitants of Argyll and Bute left behind a megalithic legacy from deep antiquity. They carefully chose these natural rock outcrops and erected standing stones and decorated them with peculiar circular designs. The petroglyphs seem to be located at prominent locations in the landscape. Archaeologists find complicated glyphs appear at important locations on the land, like routes and boundary areas. The best time to view the glyphs is when wet during or after rainfall. Hugo Anderson Wymark, a researcher, carved out hollows like they did in the Neolithic and Bronze Age, and found it took him between 1.5 and half an hour to achieve this. His tools were hammerstones made of quartz. The same tools were found during excavation at Torblaran Rock Art site 2.5 miles away. Theories are rife on the meaning of the symbols. A few examples are star maps or vessels for casting and mixing bronze. A quote from Hihaka Sapa, a Native American Indian, says, "The power of the world always works in circles and everything tries to be round. In the old days, all our power came to us from the sacred hoop of the nation, and so long as the hoop was unbroken, the people flourished." The Kilbaan Rock Art site. Close to the extensive Achnabreck sites is Kilbaan inscribed rocks. There are two sites here, and both are in the care of Historic Environment Scotland. This film looks at the unfenced second site, which is much more elaborate than the fenced off section, where the carvings are hard to make out. 100 metres from the enclosed site is an extremely well preserved rock panel. This is one of the best rock outcrops to view ancient glyphs not only in the Kilmartin area but the whole of Scotland. The petroglyphs are very clear. 29 symbols were carved onto the rock panel. From this location is beautiful views to a once important route into the Kilmartin Glen area. The large motifs seem to be in clusters of 3, and here we have interlocking conjoined designs, which is unusual. At the close by Achnabreck site, the carvings only slightly touch. There is also a possible star design here. These enigmatic glyphs are thought to be 5,000 years old. You can also find cup-mark carvings on standing stones at the nearby Ballymeanoch and Nether Largie standing stones. Theories regarding the meaning of the carvings are images of ripples made by raindrops or a monument to commemorate the dead. Another good time to view the glyphs is when the sun is setting low. In 1830, Archibald Curry, who was a schoolmaster, was the first person to write about the Kilbaan Rock Art. His theory was the circles may represent the orbits of planets around the sun. Similar designs are found along the Atlantic fringe from Scotland to Portugal. The ancient people in the Kilmartin area were busy creating structures which exist into our present day, and we can still enjoy visiting these fascinating ancient sites. Check out author and dowser David Cowan's work, who has done fascinating research into rock art, standing stones and stone circles in the Perth and Kinross area. Ronald Morris, a rock art enthusiast and lawyer, compiled 104 theories regarding the meaning of these ancient symbols. The Ballymeanoch site in Ayrshire is another major rock art site which is well worth visiting. Kilbaan is situated on the B841 road, with the walk to the rock art site starting next to the Kilbaan Hotel. Kilmichael Glassary. At the entrance to Kilmartin Glen is Kilmichael Glassary. Here we have a rock outcrop with 150 motifs carved into the natural rock surface. This is just one of many prehistoric rock carving locations in the Kilmartin area. It is thought the Bronze Age people created these enigmatic symbols around 2,800 to 2,000 years ago. The surface is well preserved and has lots of cracks and fissures, and these natural lines seem to have been taken into account when the glyphs were carefully carved. The rock panel is densely decorated with rock carvings unique among the Kilmartin sites. There are several keyhole-like designs which are not found elsewhere in the area, and these keyhole designs may symbolise the female vulva. There are mostly common cut marks here. 5 of these are surrounded by a single ring. There are no recognisable human or animal designs. and these petroglyphs appear surreal and abstract. Hammerstones made of quartz may have been used by the prehistoric people to painstakingly peck out the designs. When the quartz is struck, a greenish glow emits from the stone. There was evidence at the nearby Torblaren site during excavation. Quartz was smashed, possibly during ceremonies. These ancient symbols can be found in the UK from North England up to Scotland. The Kilmartin area is the best location in the UK for prehistoric rock carvings. The designs here must have been very important to the prehistoric people of northern Britain and beyond, especially with the abundance and size of the designs in the Kilmartin area. Many theories have been put forward for the meaning of these designs, a few examples being a way of communicating with the other world, maps, or even language. Kilmichael Glassary is a very small village. The outcrop is situated between Loch Gilphead and Kilmartin, just off the A816 road and past Bridge End. The site is in the care of Historic Environment Scotland. It is signposted and protected by a fence. Before Caledonia is a Scottish prehistory project which focuses on the Neolithic and Bronze Age stone circles, standing stones and rock art. Before Caledonia is also a Facebook group where you can share photos, articles and YouTube videos on Scotland's ancient sites. If you would like to support the project, you can through Patreon or PayPal with the links below in the description box or on the YouTube channel homepage. Feel free to share the videos and leave a comment for a personal reply. Please subscribe for regular content. Thanks for watching, thanks to my Patreons, and a megalithic thanks to the prehistoric people of Kilmartin Glen.